I suppose living in Blaylock subdivision, 1313 Elm Street, playing in the, now we don't have flooding in the streets, but we used to play where the streets flooded at the corner of Elm and Orchard. Well, back in the early 50s, it was just a lot of young families with young kids just after World War II. Korean War was just starting up, and a lot of young folks with their first houses, and all the houses looked the same. Oh, well, I played basketball for Valparaiso, and basketball was everything. I mean, we never won football games in those days. That was my brother's generation when they started to win, so basketball was everything. Oh, Dave Butterfield was my classmate. He was mayor here. Bob Eiler, one of my close friends, is just retired as a partner at Price Waterhouse, probably one of the foremost cost accounting guys in the country. The list goes on and on. Jack Swellstead, cardiologist, played football. Ken Blaney, he was a year behind me. Of course, he owns a couple restaurants. Ken will never forgive me for this, but with Coach Pfeiffer, he mastered pole vaulting. He's the only guy who was able to get the pole vault pole vertical and slide down on his head into the pole box. A lot of driving the loop down around the big wheel and straight down Lincoln Way, turn left, go down around Frost Top, circle to look for friends, come back and do that loop maybe 90 or 100 times a night. And there was no McDonald's in those days, one little hamburger place out on 49. Of course, we had Frost Top and A&W. We lived in Barrington for about 10 years when I was a vice president at United, and my daughter was a cheerleader at Barrington, and the only people who came to cheer at the varsity basketball games were the parents of the cheerleaders. Here, sports are still where people congregate. VU's a little bigger, but there's still VU basketball. In fact, I think the relationship between community and the university is even better than it was then. You live in Barrington and go in the same store 50 times, they won't know your name. Here they, probably the third time, they know you by your first name and so forth. So a lot of that's the same. And one of the great things we've had with Mayor Costas is a guy who's built teams, surrounded himself with people who are willing to speak up, and he's had a vision and willing to go out and convince people that, even though you don't like chocolate ice cream, you ought to just try it. I flew the Cobra in Vietnam, and you can go from 90 degrees of dive to 110 degrees of bank, for whatever reason you would do that, without moving the stick more than about that. So you just literally think where you want to be and it goes there. It's kind of on the masculine side. I think on our feminine side, there's the amazing beauty of it all. I mean, just seeing the world from that perspective, and those folks who say, well, we can't grow and things are changing because of the East End. It's not changing that radically. It's still pretty hard to sit down in a restaurant that you don't know somebody in the restaurant and you don't feel part of community.